Welcome. I'd like to invite everybody here. It's a little smaller than our last commission meeting. It's good to have you here. We're going to have an invocation by David Wilson. Pledge of Allegiance is going to be by Ricky Hatch. Thought of the Day by Commissioner Ebert, and we'll head to there.
Our Father in heaven, as we assemble here on this beautiful late summer day, we express our thanks unto Thee for our blessings, which are many. We are especially grateful to live in this great nation and state with their protective constitutions that both grant and preserve rights. We're grateful for our leaders nationally and in our state, and ask Thy blessings upon them, that they may seek Thy guidance in governing the affairs of this nation and state. We are assembled here in a Weber County Commission meeting today, and we ask special blessings upon the elected representatives here in this county, our county commissioners, that they may always have the best interest of the people as they consider and make decisions concerning the governance and matters of this county. We pray for the men and women in the military services. We are grateful for their service, and we ask the same blessing upon those who are in the law enforcement agencies, as we are grateful for their service as well. Now we dedicate this time unto Thee for Thy business, and do this in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please stand. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick thought today. Many of us experience frustration in our lives as we go through making decisions. And T.F., I believe Hodge, once said, "To conquer frustration, one must become intensely focused on the outcome, not the obstacles." So, outcome-motivated people we are for sure here in the Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Ebert. We're going to go to item E, presentations, recognition of Weber County Elections Team 2016 Election Center Democracy Award for their partnership with Weber State University. And Mr. Hatch is going to talk about that.
Great. Thank you. I'll go ahead and invite our elections team up, as well as our Weber State representative. So in the clerk auditor's office and elections office, we are constantly asking, what can we do to improve? How can we do things better, faster, better service, and less expensive? And we want all of those together. And this is an example of that. While we always wish that we had more budget or more time or both, our elections team has come up with this great program that allows us to have additional staff resources at no cost. And then on the other hand, it provides the Weber State University students with real world experience to help them as they obtain their education. I want to talk briefly about two projects that have been done that helped earn this award. First off, we actually enlisted the help of a computer science class at Weber State to develop an inventory program, inventory tracking. We have over 600 voting machines, and along with those come various accessory items that need to be tracked, and we need to know exactly where they are. And this program that was developed by Weber State students, computer science students, helps us not just track that better, but it also helps us better comply with the statewide audit, the state recommended or required audit we have to do with each election. The second project that Weber State students have worked on is a mobile app that they are helping us develop, which we're really eager to see. This will help provide balloting information, polling place information, et cetera, to voters that they can access on their smartphones. Now, for Weber State, on that side, we haven't just been all taking from Weber State. Our staff have been giving as well. Our staff participates in focus groups and has worked with Weber State They created some focus groups for our vote by mail strategy. They've also conducted a voter satisfaction survey, which has been really helpful. Their technical writing class also has helped us as we prepare instruction manuals for our voting equipment and poll workers, and their translation, their language departments have helped with translation and are still helping with translation so that we can provide some voter information to voters whose first language is not English. Overall, Weber State in the time of 1 year's period has provided over 1,000 hours of service through their projects and through their staff coming and helping. That's like a half-time employee for a year. That's pretty impressive, and in our desire to save money, that's a substantial savings. Now, I mentioned briefly our staff, we're not just taking from them, but we're giving, and so our staff participates. We've participated with voter registration drives on campus. We have staff that sit on executive committees there and provide guest lecturing, and we also had a contest last year to come up with a election slogan specific to Weber State. And the winner of that contest, who was a Weber State student, got a signed, personally autographed basketball signed by Damian Lillard, who
It was going to be Ricky Hatch.
yeah, well, that's for the big award. This one is just a small one, yeah. Anyway, so it's a very collaborative effort. In fact, on the application, we called it co-education. It really was a collaborative effort between the two. And coming up Friday, September 16th, is a Rock the Vote concert. That's going to be held in downtown Ogden. And that is it has a bunch of different functions, but it's primarily voter registration awareness, and we'll provide help there. It's also their homecoming football pregame pep rally, and Ogden is sponsoring that, Weber State, their first home game, sorry. Weber State's a sponsor, Weber County is a sponsor, Ogden City, and several others. There'll be a nice concert there, and so we invite everybody to come out. It's free, and we'll have all sorts of goodies there for those who attend. Now, just finally, this award, this is the Election Center Democracy Award. This was presented back last week back in Philadelphia. Shelley accepted the award there and provided a summary and a discussion or description of the projects that we're involved with. This is the second National Best Practice Award that our elections department has won this year. And it's a testament to the vision of our elections director, Ryan Cowley, as well as to each of the staff members, Stu Jensen, Daniel Wade, and Shelley Jackson, and various others, as well as some tremendous partnering and great cooperation from our Weber State friends. We'll give them a chance to talk as well. So with that, I just want to ask Shelley Jackson, who was primarily the main brain behind this and the main factor behind this. Everybody participated, but she was kind of the driver. So I'd like her to give a few comments and then have her introduce our Weber State representative, Jenny Frame.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, commissioners. It was an honor to go to Philadelphia and represent our county last week and accept this award on the office's behalf. I really think that the success of this program is due to Weber State and their CSEL office, which is their engaged learning office. We talked to a lot of other counties and they said, we've tried this at our college. And I really think that a lot of the success lies in the foundation they've set and the work that their staff does. So I've invited the volunteer coordinator, the community partner coordinator, Jenny Frame, to come. I really think this is as much Weber State's award as it is ours. And it's one of the best parts of my job is going up to Weber State and working with the students and the staff at the CSEL. Jen.
Well, thank you, Shelley. Everything was so eloquently said. So we love working with Weber County Elections and the Clerk Auditor's Office. I really think it's this great staff that makes this partnership work really well. We do see our community partners, all of our community partners, as co-educators, and they kind of take that to a new level and really just help our students to see some maybe awesome careers that they could have in the future and really get engaged in their community. So we thank them and congratulate them, and thank you.
and we'd love to get the rest of the county on board and working with our partnership.
So are you okay coming down and we'll do a picture with?
We would love to.
Dave? So Shelley, you and Jenny get to be in the middle.
Who are we looking at first? Shelley? Tell us when you're done, Shelley.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, Kathy?
Sure.
You better have got my good side, Kathy.
I don't want to touch it, I want to
Well,
shake your hand, so.
I did, guys. Thank you.
Great job.
We'll plan on next week. It seems like every week the clerk auditor's office is meeting on the award or something, so we'll see you guys next week. I don't think so. Thank you. They always do such a great job. Now we're going to go to item F, consent items. Request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $129,928.04. Number 2, request for approval of warrants 408172, 408401 in the amount of $1,136,796.09. Number 3, request for approval of work session held on August 16th, 2016. Number 4, request for approval of change order number 6 for Wardell Brothers on the Skyline Drive project. Number 5, request to set the date of September 6, 2016 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing to consider and take action on a proposal to amend the following sections of the Weber County Land Use Code. Definitions 101-1-7, General Provisions 102-1, Natural Hazards Overlay District 104-27, Supplementary and Qualifying Regulations 108-7, and Hillside Development Review Procedures and Standards 108-14. To clarify that the Planning Commission is not the only land use authority over projects with natural hazards, and to provide clarity, remove redundancies, and include process steps and appeal provisions for natural hazards reviews. There you go, Commissioner. Oh, Ricky.
We had 18 purchase orders for $129,000 last week. 48% of that, or $62,000, was for the library. That was primarily for network hardware. 21%, or $27,000, was for road base. 10%, or $12,000, was for IT, and that was primarily software licenses. 7%, or $10,000, was for Homeland Security, and those were for hazmat materials. We wrote 231 checks for $1.1 million. 37% of that, or $426,000, was disposal fees at our landfill for the month of July. 16%, or $185,000, was for the jail, and that was primarily for human services fees, utilities, and food. 8%, or $86,000, is an escrow release for the Sandhill Crane subdivision. 6%, or $73,000, went to the library for books, equipment, and software. And 6%, or $63,000, went to 12th Street corridor preservation.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Really quickly, when we go back to our warrant list, 37% went to our disposal under our transfer station for ECDC. That's the landfill. We contract with, I think, Republic for that. And that's one of the areas when we're reviewing where our expenditures are going. That's an area that we're going to address here fairly quickly. If you have any comments on that, Ricky?
Just part of our effort always to try and identify the best use of taxpayer dollars, seeing if we can save.
Yeah, and so we're in conjunction with the mayors of the 15 cities. We're trying to find the best way to manage that and to reduce that. So I just wanted to touch base on that really quickly. It's something we've been working on for probably the last 6 to 8 months. We actually have a subgroup within WACOG that's working on that. And then really quickly also on the work session, the the purpose of the work session, if it wasn't already stated, was to review the final recommendations on the Ogden Canyon study. So those are the only comments that I have, Chair.
What's your pleasure?
I make a motion that we approve the consent items as read.
I second it. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Item G, public hearing. Number 1, request a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now in a public hearing. Number 2, we got 2 different items we're going to have a public hearing on. The first one is public hearing to consider and take action on a request to vacate a public utility easement in Allen Estates, subdivision phase 2, lot 27. The 10-foot public utility easement is located along the sides and rear of lot 27. Felix, come on up to the microphone. Felix, I don't want to destroy your last name too bad, so I'll let you say your last name there.
Okay, it's Yeverino.
Yeverino.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's not the common spelling, just
No.
so you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for looking over this project. This one was pretty straightforward. After reviewing the request, the applicant's request to vacate that 10-foot public utility easement, it's engineering, planning, the attorneys, they've all signed off, and they recommend approval of this vacation.
I've looked it over and it looks good to me. It looks like it's just needs to move forward. What are your thoughts, Commissioner?
I'm good with it. We've reviewed it.
Okay. We'll do public comment at the end on both these issues. So if you have public comment on that one, then we'll take it all at the same time. So unless you've got any more things to say or staff, we're going to move on to number 3, public hearing. The next one. Come on up, Charlie.
Felix. Thank you.
Public hearing to consider and take action on a proposal to amend Title 104 Zones, Chapter 21, Commercial Valley Zones CV1 and CV2 to allow dwelling units in the zone if they were previously approved as part of a development agreement and to provide specific standards governing them. Charlie.
Commission, hi, thank you very much. Back in, I believe it was the 80s, maybe the 90s, the Wolf Creek development started going in with a development agreement. However, in 2001, there was an amendment to that development agreement that assigned about 250 dwelling units to the CV2 zone. Those dwelling units have always been part of our calculations on densities in the Ogden Valley. However, the CV2 zone doesn't currently allow dwelling units, and so we weren't exactly sure how that was supposed to be executed. Last year, if the Commission remembers, we amended the development agreement. A lot of development has already happened, and there are just a few dwelling units left over. There were 70-something dwelling units to be divided up between 2 or 3 different parcels in the CV2 zone, and we again reaffirmed that they belong to those certain parcels. And so we said, yeah, you get these dwelling units on these parcels, which currently are zoned CV2, but our CV2 zone doesn't currently allow dwelling units. So this change is to change the CV2 zone to reflect what was previously adopted through their development agreement. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I just want to put on the overhead real quickly the changes so you can see what we're looking at. What you're seeing here in the table is the table of uses allowed in the CV2 zone. We got dwelling unit, which is already there, allowed as dwelling unit for sole proprietor for business or night watchman or something like that. But dwelling units weren't otherwise allowed. We're adding a use line in for dwelling unit here, saying not permitted. This first column is the CV1 zone, but permitted without the need for a conditional use permit in this CV2 zone. And all that is because 104.21.4D, we put some pretty tight parameters on how to use dwelling units in the CV2 zone. The primary concern here is to ensure that CV2 remains commercial in nature, or predominantly commercial in nature. This is, I think, a good first step towards creating mixed-use zones in the Ogden Valley. Right now, we've really kind of pigeonholed it only for development agreements that had dwelling units previously assigned. But I think that this opens things up, the door up in the future for possible TDR programs or the possible ability to allow dwelling units in commercial areas, provided that ground floor, street level areas of buildings are commercial in nature.
So, when it talks about the owner of it, if they want to live upstairs, they can.
Yes, and that was already allowed under the code. If an owner of a business wants to live on site, they can. I think you had to get a conditional use permit. I don't recall, but there's a provision for that in the CV1 and CV2 zone.
Okay, great. Great.
Other question I have is, this falls within the upcoming Upper Valley plan that's we'll review here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, both plans, upcoming plan as well as existing plans that talk about commercial villages being vibrant areas where TDRs could potentially go towards.
And this basically opens up the CV2 to allow that TDR concept to actually start to flourish.
Yeah, and right now it only opens it up to people who were who have development agreements. There might be 2 out there. We know of one specifically, but there may be a couple more out there. But yeah, it's just a matter of getting back into this code in the future, providing reasonable modifications with a TDR program or a TDR ordinance as well.
So we've talked about this concept of clustering. How can we encourage clustering? Do you think this opening the CV2 zone up to residential is an encouragement to do that? Do you think it's
to create successful clustered villages, you have to have a critical mass of people. Otherwise, you don't have the market for commercial services, even if it's small neighborhood commercial services, whether it's the laundromat or, the convenience store where you can buy a gallon of milk or something. It's hard for those commercial services to move into an area where the density of people is dispersed across the land side. And so without the ability to put more people in commercial areas, you're going to continue to have Ogden City area be the community services for the Ogden Valley.
Okay, the last question I have is, why did we eliminate in the past dwelling units out of the CV2? Was it just to maintain just specific commercial areas?
They weren't actually allowed. Prior to, I got to remember where my research led me to, but prior to, I think it was 2004, they were very well prohibited except for through PRUD concept, Planned Residential Unit Development concept. In 2004, 2005, it was readjusted to try and take the emphasis away from single-family dwellings. And so you're right, we did make it a little bit more strict. It's because we saw in some of our commercial areas, we saw condos going up without any commercial services. And so there was a readjustment to require more commercial-like stuff to go in. And that's more relevant to the CVR1 zone than it is the CV2 zone. CV2 zone, according to my research, has never allowed single-family residential. And that just goes with the Euclidean style of zoning where you separate uses. Houses go over there, businesses go over there.
Euclidean.
Sorry,
I'll have to
yeah.
spell that and then look.
EUCLID.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll Google that later.
Good.
It's
It's the basis for zoning.
For me, Charlie, I just want to make sure that we understand in the past why commissions and planning created certain zones and what they were trying to prevent, and how that fits into our vision now to make sure we're not making mistakes.
Good.
We're not reliving the past. So, but conceptually, if there are enough protections in here to create the zone that has both commercial and residential, and we create a mixed use that lends itself better to clustering, then I think this is the right direction moving forward.
Good, and this doesn't change a lot because the developers of Wolf Creek have done a lot of public outreach to their neighbors. Neighbors are already very well aware that a number of units could be assigned to these areas which are already commercial in nature. This is really just putting it in paper to make sure everything is, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Okay, and I lied. Here's my last one. So I just want to make sure we have a partner in Wolf Creek who is community oriented, does a tremendous amount of outreach. Have we researched this enough into the surrounding community to make sure that there isn't another area where this may apply that may cause us some issues or angst in the community?
Excuse me. Yeah, I've gone through to try and find every other development agreement that may have the ability for this to exist. One other one that I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I think it's in the CVR1 zone. Either way, it's right down the road from the same site within the Wolf Creek development. I don't think it's going to cause us a lot of harm.
Thank you, Charlie. I have no other questions.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go into public comment. The public comment is on these two public hearings. And then after that closes, we will have public comments for any other issues that we have in front of the county. So right now it's public comment for the vacation of the utility easement and for the proposed amendment to Title 104, which Charlie just went through. So anyone want to come up and talk about those items? Going once, going twice. Number 5, request for motion to adjourn public hearing and reconvene public meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now back in public meeting. We're going to take action on the public hearing. Commissioner, what's your desire?
And it will be ordinance 9.
Ordinance 9 for the approval. Is that for number 2?
For the Allen Estates.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 9, the request to vacate a public utility easement in the Allen Estates subdivision Phase 2, Lot 27.
I second it, and it'll be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ebert.
Aye.
And Chair Bell.
Aye. Passes. Number 3, the public hearing on the amendment to Title 104.
Ordinance 10, is that correct?
Yes.
I can count, but I'm just double checking. I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 10, taking action on a proposal to amend Title 104, Chapter 21, to allow dwelling units in the zone if they were previously approved as part of a development agreement and to provide specific standards governing them.
I second it. It'll be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ebert.
Aye.
Chair Bell.
Aye. Thank you. Passes. All right, we're going to go into number 8, which is public comment. General public can come up and comment on anything you want to comment on. I got a note from our office staff up there. There was going to be some public comment today, so nobody has something they want to comment on. Okay, well, no more public comment. Just before we go to I, did you want to talk about something?
Well, you know, we are continuing our efforts for transparency. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that we spend a lot of time trying to talk about the issues and the things that we're working on today. We receive a packet that details a tremendous amount of what we're reviewing. There was the packet on the CV1, and again, there's more, and there's computer. We're going to attach this packet that we look at that provides information to us into our transparency page. That's usually released on, I believe we're going to get it released on Wednesday or Thursday now. It's usually been released on Monday.
Friday.
On Friday.
We'll release it on Friday.
Yeah, we're going to release it on Friday. It's been usually released information on the agenda on Monday. We're trying to get information a little quicker. And then that allows the public to look at what we're looking at, the stuff that Charlie and Felix just talked about. So we have a better informed public that can come to a public meeting when they have an opportunity to talk and actually have good information to ask us questions about. I think that lends to better transparency in government. The other issue that we're still working on is having a more detailed budget released. We have a budget that I think is 7 to 8 pages, but I feel like probably our general constituency that is interested would like to have some more drill down, and so we'll be working on providing that drill down budget that probably is closer to 130 pages rather than 8 into the future. So again, we're continuing to work on our transparency. Mr. Hatch has done an amazing job. I talked briefly to him the other day about some concerns I had with getting information out. Much of that information came from our public hearing, and bada bing, bada boom, he waved his magic wand. He's like the fairy godmother, and our transparency page was up. There's a question area in there where we have questions that we've answered. There's general information being released, and we're working on a suggestion area where you can make suggestions. So we'll continue to move this forward. We want to be responsive to the questions, concerns, and needs that the public has. So please keep coming. Please keep talking to us. Please keep giving us suggestions. We'll try to implement as much as we can, as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We want everything to be open. It's computer aged. You know, how frustrated are we when we try to do something or deal with someone that's not doing computer stuff? It's ridiculous. We need to be out there where you can find any information you want about Weber County. We don't have anything to hide. We don't have anything to hide about salaries we pay, about bills we pay, about the employees' use of credit cards. We want you to see it all. And we will work very hard so it's out there. Click of a button, you can be able to go look at it. So we've come a long way, haven't we, Rick? And Ricky, and we're going to go further, and we appreciate your help there.
And if I can add, I think what I would like, as much
Love
as
you to add.
as much as I love to see your smiling faces here, I don't think you should be required to come here to receive every ounce of information you need. So what I would like to eventually have is you can watch us, you can pull up all the information that we have, you can see where we reference things, and maybe we'll have a better reference system. We can say page 7, line 621, here's a question for Charlie. And eventually what I'd like to have is the opportunity for you to be interactive here. So if you have a question, you can go to a question section on our YouTube feed and ask a question. Now, we may not be able to answer it during the live broadcast, but if something pops in your head, you should be able to ask us a question and get an answer. And that's the type of interactive government I think that we would like to have, especially in this, as Commissioner Bell said, electronic age.
So until
we're
we
working.
get to that point, can we interactive just come to your house and get a bite of dinner and interact with you there?
Come over, I'll make sandwiches.
Thank you. Number I.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.